ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Arsalahu bil huda wa din al haq liyudhiruhu ala din kulihi wallahu karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. This way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. So we welcome everybody to just a nice little Sunday evening. It's our first program related to Brother Tufayl Strategic Command Center, which technically would be this whole little complex here. But don't worry, we're not waiting till we finish nothing. We're already into that right now. That's what this program is about. In other words, the buildings and the preparation and all that is important, but it's never been important to us as far as getting the ball rolling. So I would like to start off with a subject of this sarafa. The word mushrif come from that. It's like a people who waste things. They waste themselves, they waste opportunities, they overlook so many things in their environment that they consider useless, and so they waste those things. So not one of the communities that we destroyed in bygone times would ever believe their prophets. Will these then be more willing to believe? Then it goes on to say, in the end, we made good unto them our promise, and we saved them and all who we willed to save, and we destroyed those who had wasted their own selves. Sarafa, mushrif, those who wasted themselves, wasted opportunities. And when you see simple things in a society, like if you remember in Oakland, the big piece of property we still have it there, and it was going to be a homeless shelter. Well, they call it the unhoused. See, we're out here and we don't have no idea about homelessness. If you were in California, I mean, you can drive down some of the old streets that used to be factory laden. You could drive for block after block after block. It looks like those shanty towns in South Africa. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, see, out here, it's getting ready to get cold. And so the weather's not that, in the summer it's blazing hot with rain and all that. But now California is pleasant weather. Even the winter is coming. It's going to rain a little bit, but it's going to be 65, 70 degrees during the day, most of the winter. Yeah, a cold day would be about 50 degrees, but the rest of the time, it's going to be good weather out there. So the homeless don't stay on the East Coast that much. They migrate west. That's why you've probably seen pictures and movies and videos of places like LA, where they got whole sections of people just hanging out. They have to come down and tear them down, wash them down with bleach and everything because of waste and what have you. They have those things out there. Well, we don't look at them the same way. as if you remember, we discussed our homeless center is like 3 stars and up, leveling off at 3.5 stars. That means like the food we eat here, that's the kind of food they're going to have in the homeless shelter. And the people there will be servants of those people, not dictating to them. Well, you read a couple of verses of the Bible and you're going to get some food. You know, they're going to sing a few hymns. No. It's going to be like staying in a 3-star, 3.5, almost a 4-star hotel. And when you get, the people are going to come up and ask you, Mr. So-and-so, what would you like for lunch? Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about. And they're going to be, of course, clean and wholesome. But the main thing is, even their statistics say 65% of the people, something like that, have some psychological problems in the shelters or the homeless people. Well, we'll solve 35% of it by how we treat the people, because we know that most of the people have problems because of the way they treated. They're not treated like human beings. And an average person can be living in a house, have a good job, and the next year they're homeless. And sometimes it's sisters with children and themselves. And they first lose their house, then they're living in their car. Pretty soon, the car just breaks down and it won't go nowhere, and they either just stuck with it or they have to establish a homeless shelter for themselves and their children. And they got programs to send children to school from homeless shelters in California. Okay, so that means you could see signs that people that are homeless, I used to be somebody or something like that. That means, can you imagine that having some green money is the determining factor of who you are, right? We don't want to live. Our first project, I'll talk about what we want to do in the second part of the talk, but we don't believe that's the way society should be. And since we don't believe it, then we have to get busy to try to fix it. So, for instance, if they got all these homeless shelters, you know they're closing military bases and all of that, right? Why not just turn the military bases, let somebody, some big church rent the military bases for $1, right? And all the homeless, it's thousands of people can come, and they got them all over the country, right? They can go live on that military base, and they could live a semi-structured but a clean, healthy life. And you have some medical treatment, you know, some voluntary doctors come through, check everybody out. Some voluntary dentists come through and check the people out. Because you can imagine the health problems you're going to have if you're homeless. And dental problems, you know, all of that. Well, that's because you don't have no money. Can you imagine a society that bases itself, like they do, on having some money? Where you live, they got a zillion houses empty, but you can't live in them because you don't have no money. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's the way the people of the world think. They've been taught to think like that. So we got a big job teaching people the difference, teaching people what's the name last night said in his acceptance speech about possibilities. See, we have to tell people why y'all so happy. We got to tell them why they're so happy. You know, because they don't know. They're going off the surface thing, like Donald Trump was this, and they did that, and Black Lives Matter. It goes deeper than that. We know it, but the people don't know it. And remember, the people act off perception, not reality. They act off what they perceive, or the picture that the news and the people and all the institutions draw of reality. That's what they accept, you know. So, abandoned bases, homeless people. They have zillions of forest fires. I mean, now they burning up whole regions. Why not give the people in the homeless shelters a purpose? If they want to work, okay, you could go. Where are you going to go to work? We're going to do just like in doing, what's his name, the civilian conservation things where they went out and go fix the forest, plant trees. Remember, we talked about regionally 1 million trees, nationally 1 billion trees, and internationally a trillion trees. We can't do all that stuff ourselves. We can't do all that stuff. Where we are now, we can't do all that stuff. But if we organize properly and we teach, train, and educate, all those things can be done. So that's the thing that we're working toward. Why should the people stay out? You're closing military bases, and they should close all of them down, not just 1 or 2 of them. I'll get to that later. Imagine the waste. If you want to think of the people that waste, look at the people, the opportunity they wasted in 1990, 1989, and 90, when the Soviet Union fell. Wasted opportunity. What did they waste? They could have demilitarized most of the world, denuclearized, right? They could have did all of those things, and they didn't do none of them. Why? Because the military-industrial complex. The same thing Eisenhower said in January 1960 when he was leaving office. Beware of the military-industrial complex. That group of people who have now, we have standing armies, standing militaries, all modern weapons. Before, they would militarize for a war. Then after the war, after World War I, they demilitarized. What's the sense of having but after World War II, they said, no, look at the money we making, man. We got to keep fitna going. We got to keep suspicion going. We got to keep all this turmoil going because we need an army to do what? To protect us. That's a waste. So therefore, they wasted the opportunity. When the Soviet Union fell, 1 week, no Muslim problem. By 91, the Muslim problem, right? No more Soviet Union problem. They switched right over to the Muslim problem. And they were saying that in Time, Newsweek, they were saying, well, this is the new challenge. They designed it. They got to have a new challenge, so they got to have weapons. They got to have wars, right? So where they went to war, where's the challenges at in the world? In Africa, it's Boko Haram and all those people, Muslims. All established by who? Saudi Arabia. Who's Saudi Arabia's friend? The United States and the Israelis, right? It's all hooked up. It's all one thing. And the Quran refers to those people as mushriks, those who waste themselves. So it's not only the homeless, it's not only the trees that could be planted and the bridges that could be built, and all these things could be done by people they're wasting their people. Like they said, there's all these infrastructure problems in America, and you got people sitting down, and not only wasteful, these people are stupid. Actually stupid, because if having a job is a problem, they're creating machines, right? So people won't have to work or can't work because the machine's going to do it. Why? Because of money. Because you don't have to pay the machine. All you got to do is get the first down payment on the machine, and the machine just going to work and work and work and print and print and print. And the human being who loves to work, you know, people feel good about themselves when they feel like they're making a contribution to themselves, their family, and their society. That's what the human being feels good about themselves, when they feel like they have some control over their life. Locus of control is what they call it in psychology. But they're wasting away. They're wasting the people. And they have a system that's going to produce more waste. When we talk about waste, you know, in nature don't have no waste. When an animal dies, I used to run in the woods all the time, still try, but it's different. If you saw an animal died in a certain place, right, and they decomposed right there, the grass was the greenest right there. Why? Because all of those molecules and everything decomposed. They went into the soil, all of those minerals and everything, copper, iron, zinc, lead that was in them. The grass is greener there. So there was no waste. What we give off as waste is food for other creatures, other beings. It's fertilizer. In Germany, you know, like here, you know, in Germany, in the winter, you can't smell anything. But in the spring and summer, when them fields moisten up, it smells like doo-doo. You know why? Because Germans use human waste. All day you can see them big trucks going out with steam coming out of it. They take that human waste and they put it on their fields. They do that in China everywhere, because human waste is fertilizer. Not only waste from cattle and horses and all that is fertilizer, right? So is human waste. I mean, it's for the plant. The point is, there's no waste in nature. Nature does not produce waste. Everything just changes form, and if it's a waste from me, it's a food for something else. The human being is the only one that could fill up the oceans with waste, things that can't transform itself, right? So the problem, this is what the Quran is talking about, the mushrifin, or mushrifun, those who are wasters. Another thing they talk about that we want to mention in time, they say that the road to hell is paved by what? Good intentions. That's satanic. That's exactly opposite of what? Islam. The first thing, your niyyah, your intention, right? But they're telling you that the road to hell is paved by people that have good intentions. So you got to have, well, if that's true, then what you going to have? Well, of course, I'm going to have bad intentions, right? I just want to mention, in this work that we're doing, we have to design it so we can have fun, keep positive, and take advantage of all or as many opportunities as we can. And even yesterday, old Biden was talking about possibilities. The possibility, you know. Of course, he's talking about America and its possibilities. Now, here's something that help America during its time of need. We always talk about America the good, right? They just had an election and they talking about trying to do good and trying to, well, of course they're lying. Well, let's read what the Quran say about them. But that don't mean that we have to be, because we have the first project, and we'll talk about that soon. Said the apostles, our sustainer knows that we have indeed been sent unto you, but we are not bound to do more than clearly deliver the message entrusted to us. The apostles replied, our destiny, good or evil, is bound up with yourselves. Does it seem evil to you if you are told to take the truth to heart? Nay, but you are a people who have wasted their own selves. Remember, the subject is mushers, people that are wasting. The whole earth is going to waste. Because the people, even in our own lives, we've become more Americanized, we've become more wasteful. You know, when we were younger, if we had something left on our plate, our parents would eat it, because they came from a time when you didn't have extras. You know, you just didn't have extras. And they remembered that. So you just say, well, I'm full, I got more than I needed. Shoot, my father would eat that up, because they were not wasteful. They come from a time when to have enough food was a blessing, right? And to have food at all was a blessing, because they used to ask the blessing. You know, they used to say, they used to thank Allah for having food. And just like a Muslim, if you slaughter an animal, you thank Allah for giving you power and authority over that animal to use that animal for the benefit of your life, right? And you thank Allah for that. How many people go to Mac's and before they eat a Big Mac or something, they ask the blessing? They just eat a piece of it and throw it out right here on this yard where we stay. I think they use that to get rid of all the Big Macs and all that. But anyway, let's go on. O my people, follow the message bearers. Follow those who ask no reward of you, but themselves are rightly guided. We talked again about wasted opportunities, the fall of the Soviet Union to disarm, opportunities to clean up the environment. Simple opportunities. When Obama became president, that was an opportunity. They could have sold ice to Eskimos, right? Think about it. The world, post-racial America, to get a black man in there and da-da-da-da-da. Of course, to them, everything is surface. Black people may have more trouble with Obama in there, right, than when somebody else is in there. But they're happy. The people was dancing and partying worse than yesterday. When Obama became president in January, hey, I left. My relatives was coming from all over the country. They was coming here. Can we stay with you? Can we? I said, yes, you can stay. And I told Sister Bahia, and I said, I'm going. I'm getting out of here. I headed to California. Yeah, I was out on the highway. January 20th, I was gone. I said, I'm not going to sit here and watch this. Oh, and they was singing and partying and hallelujah, you know, and they was really going at it. Okay? But technically, Obama did better than he was expected. They gave him a filthy economy, and he actually fixed it up, you know. But Obama made a mistake, two mistakes. The main one was that JPCOA with Iran. That was a major mistake. That was a mistake that the Israelis hated, the Saudis hated. And for that, that's why a lot of problems that they have right now. If y'all remember, Netanyahu came over here and got a 19-gun salute, standing ovation in the U.S. Parliament when Obama was in the White House, when The old mayor of Chicago was still in there with him, the Yahudi guy. They had a meeting down at the White House, and they told Obama, you can go. The Yahoo told him, you got to get out of the White House. You can go. You're not needed here. In this meeting? Can you imagine? Okay, now, you got to remember, when we talk about helping America become America the good, we have to educate the American people that they have been taken over by the Zionists. The wars, the recent wars they've been fighting is on behalf of the Zionists. We have to be able to show them that whether it was Donald Trump, all the problems that they having, big ones, it's because of the Zionists. The police killing of black people, you notice the killings of black people are different than a few years ago. They used to kill you if you was caught in the backyard somewhere. They'd yell gun and kill you, but now they just shoot you right. You got a camera. They used to wouldn't do that. You got a camera taking a picture and they blow you away. That's because that's the way they behave with the Palestinians in Israel. And the Palestinians, the police departments have been training in Israel, or they've sent them over here to train. All the little stuff, if you see the cars, a few years ago, the cars driving around with the lights flashing all the time, that's an Israeli technique. All of those. The way George Floyd was killed, how would you just sit there and not even move for over 8 minutes and just kill the man in public, right? Because the Israelis can do that, and they're Palestinians. Me and you, we're Palestinians. So they wasted opportunities during the Obama administration. As we said, they could have sold ice to Eskimos. Do you remember 235,000 people in Germany and everywhere, jumping up and down, happy to see Obama? That's just when he won not the election, but when he was being now selected to run, that he had defeated Hillary Clinton. Now he's going to be the selectee. That's when they came out all over the world. America wasted that opportunity. O you who deny the truth, should we perchance withdraw this reminder from you altogether, seeing that you are a people bent on wasting your own selves? That these people are bent on wasting their own selves. Mushrifun, that's the way it's pronounced. Sarafa is the root word. But as soon as we have freed him of his affliction, he goes on as though he had never invoked us to save him from the affliction that befell him. Thus do their own doings seem goodly unto them who waste their own selves. And then there's a comment about the expression mushrif. It often denotes one who is given to excesses or commits excesses, one who is wasteful. Has in the above context the meaning of one who wastes his own self, namely destroys his spiritual potential by following only his base impulses and failing to submit to any moral imperative. Does that remind y'all of anything? Anybody? Very similar expressions. Aladina and Fustihum. This is an Arabic statement occurring in many places and rendering by me as those who have squandered their own selves in this sense in which it is used here is the term israf, wastefulness, or lack of moderation in one's doing, is almost synonymous with tagyun, overwhelming arrogance, like tagar, tagut. Tagar is a stream that overflows. Tagut is a person that, like Pharaoh was tagut, because he exceeded the limits. That's the best way to put it. And relates to the same type of man. The phrase goodly seemed to them, their doings describes unthinking. That these people do all this stuff and they're unthinking. And they waste it. They're wasting everything. All the need, all these prisons all over the country, all the chain gangs they had us on in the old days. Right? Okay, those people can be used. You're warehousing millions of people, and you're not using them, right? Because even the factories, they don't have the old-time prison factory. They don't have as many of those as they used to. Of course, the federal system still have cable factory and all that. When you see them rocket ships going out into space, the cables and all those are put together in U.S. prisons. And if they're lucky, they make $1 an hour or something like that. So Allah gave us a good opportunity, but that is not wasting the talent, resources, the people, or wasting the environment. So now we come to the purpose of the Brother Tufayl Strategic Command Center. The purpose of that is to teach, train, educate people, and to show people how it's done. All the stuff we're talking about, okay, for many new people, you haven't experienced it, but we're beginning a new phase, and the beginning phases, we've all been through this before. So nonviolent resistance, that's our policy. Alternative resistance means that we would use the things in our environment, the churches, the mosques, the synagogue, right, to change the society. Why? Because the churches are full of people. They just don't have a mission. And I have friends that are big preachers in Oakland. So I talk to them like, yeah, man, what we can do is, like, we're going to try to live like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and y'all try to live like Jesus. That means you can park them big BMWs, which all of them have. Them big old BMWs, there ain't none of them. Preachers think that it's automatic. They used to drive Cadillacs, now they drive them big BMWs, big Mercedes. They have to. They just think that's a part of, that goes with the job of being a preacher, right? So now we tell them, man, just get you a little Honda or something like that, and now try to use that money and wealth to help the poor and help them. Well, we have a little food program every now and then. So no, help them. Like your church, make it a refuge for people who are homeless and hungry. The church, right? That's what the church used to be, a refuge. Mecca, a city of refuge, right? Yeah, and many places you go into a church, the police can't come take you out of there because it's a place of refuge. Yeah, a lot of places like embassies are refuge. So we have to show the world how it's done. Okay, that means that now we're going into a period of action over talking. And so we chose our first modern martyr, Brother Tufayl, as that's the center that we're going to name it after. Brother Tufayl Strategic Command Center. That means that the people that are amongst us will not be forgotten. And we're going to do that with other brothers. As we said before, Americans, they got George Washington down there. He had wooden teeth and slaves and everything else. But he's down there. The city is Washington. Thomas Jefferson, the newspapers called him a whoremonger, all kind of stuff, right? But he got the big center down there. And we got the paperwork that said that we was not considered. He was going to put it in about black people and slavery in the Declaration of Independence. We read it here before. He didn't put it in there. Why? Because it was against business interests. Well, we won't be able to put the white folks up in what's the name? They're not going to like that. And me, I don't like it either. I got all these slaves. Why should I write that in there? Right? So we was never considered in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the 13th Amendment, which we all know. It says there's no more slavery inside the United States except those convicted of a what? Of a crime. That's why we go to jail every day. They have sweeps they go through and pick up. In the South, they used to really do it. Just pick up everybody, run them to a kangaroo court, and send them to the chain gang. And they would loan them out for 50 cents a day, 25% go to the 25 cents go to the county, and the other 25 cents they may give it to the Negroes, maybe. But you would be working hard for 50 cents a day. Now for us, fighting forest fires in California back in the 60s, I was at forestry camp in 62, going into 63. And they used to overpay us. They paid us $1 a day. Yeah, they paid us a whole $1 a day. You gotta imagine, for all that forestry work that you see people do in the forest, cutting down trees, bugging trees, we used to call it, all of that, fighting forest fires. Hey, shoot, they gave us a whole $1 every day. So, you could see how they liked us. I'm going to read from one of our earlier, back in the early 90s. Dear brothers and sisters, As-Salamu Alaikum. This letter is to introduce you to Masjid al-Islam in Washington, D.C. We have been an active community for many years. Our main purpose for establishing a masjid was to have a regular place of worship, to worship Allah in congregation, to promote universal brotherhood among Muslims and non-Muslims alike, and to serve the best interests of mankind in general, and Muslims in particular. We also strive to be instrumental in the propagation of Islam in America. Finally, we would like to help correct many of the misconceptions that Americans have about true Islam and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In order to do this, we have scheduled various seminars and educational programs for the public at large as well as for the Muslims. We also make a distinction between what we call American Islam and real Islam from the Quran and Sunnah. In order to give the true face of Islam in all of its comprehensiveness, we must mobilize all our forces to serve Allah, adjust our movement to Quran and Sunnah, and work for the unity of Muslims. For that reason, we have decided to, number one, develop a critical issues list. That is, those things which are critical to the survival, growth, and spread of Islam and Islamic institutions in the U.S. Number two, develop a shared understanding of what our problems are and what obstacles we face. Number three, clearly define and analyze our situation in general as well as specific. Number four, after discussion, put forward an alternative Islamic program and build or establish permanent institutions which support real and progressive Islamic values. As you well know, most of our brothers and sisters are bogged down in local and personal problems caused mostly by the forces of fitna. For this reason, many of us forget our bigger mission. We have a real and urgent need to, A, consolidate our movement, B, give directions, C, put forward concrete goals, targets, and objectives, strategies, long and short range planning. D, established upgraded masajid, schools, and Muslim centers. E, re-energize our dawah and tabligh, that is, call Americans to Islam while developing some support and sympathy for Islam, our cause, and our reason for existing. As you know, this world is full of threats and opportunities. In recent years, our lack of organization and direction has resulted in the threats increasing while our apparent opportunities are decreasing. Much of this is due to a well-financed and well-informed enemy who has used the Muslims and non-Muslims against our every effort. Now is the time to build this needed Islamic movement. We at Masjid al-Islam believe it is the mission of the Muslims to share Islam with our community. We have been working in Washington, D.C. area for this purpose because of increased awareness about Islam and Muslims. We have outgrown our modest masjid in Southeast Washington. That was our masjid on 8th Street. A lot of you may not remember, but that was really a healthy period. I mean, the poor little masjid, I don't know how all of those, can you imagine all of those, how they fit in that little place? The cars were parked up and down the street. It looked like any other masjid in the city. I don't know how everybody fit in that little masjid, but they fit. And then this is talking about that center, not this one right here. So we've scheduled various activities: Salatul Jummah, Sisters Class, Saturdays 11 a.m., Sunday school children 11 a.m., Guides to Better Living, Sundays. Guides to Better Living is technically this class we're having now. Islamic Studies, Mondays 7:30, Salat classes, Wednesdays. Family night, first Saturday of each month. Our goal now is to build a new masjid next door to our present masjid. So at that time, when we bought the masjid over there, we remodeled it. Then there's a lot next to it. We was going to expand and build a big extension next to that. That was the plan. This lot was purchased last year in 1993 by us for cash. We need your help at this time in order to move ahead to stage 2. Your aid will help endure a firm, independent direction for this project. This masjid will, inshallah, contain a prayer area, classrooms, and one room for halal products, which are needed by Muslims. Cost for the project is estimated to be about $200,000. When we wrote that down, $200,000, everybody was laughing. They said, boy, them boys really be thinking about, trying to get busy. But I want you to remember what the plan was and think about the plan. The plan has always been masjid, business, a school, and living close together. In 1993, after some years, when we bought this building here in about 95, 96, and we opened in maybe 97, 98, we bought this building. It was just a big empty church. Nothing was in here. It was just a big empty building. I mean, just brick walls and all. That's all. There was nothing here. And it had been here for years. We've been driving by. They first started this thing in '82, and we would drive by. We said, hey, instead of building a center next to our property over there, why don't we buy this one? Well, we bought this place, and for the size, we had to put everything in there. We put $300,000 worth of work inside. But we used to have our first programs, big programs here for fundraisers, and the walls, there was nothing on the walls. We had some little lights, and that was it. It was a baptismal pool downstairs. It would fill up with water. And the little house right next door where Brother Tufayl was living, wasn't nobody living there, so we didn't have bathrooms here, so we would just go over there and use the bathroom. We'd have somebody stand, you got to go to the bathroom, come on over here and use that bathroom. It wasn't legal, but who cares? So anyway, okay, but now you got to look at what's going on. About schools and education, anybody will tell you we had the best school here for 10 years. The best Islamic school, and everybody that went to this school, they go somewhere, I don't know, half of them done graduated. Some of them done graduated from universities. Everybody, the kids, they love this school. We used to have to send them home. Why y'all gotta go, because they liked school. That's the key to education. If the kids like school and they like each other, right? And we had reasonable teachers, right? And the teachers were like old-time black teachers, and they used to their goal was to make sure the children were well educated. And so they were well educated, And I think we might have spent on our own at least $400,000 or $500,000 extra, because if people didn't have the money, if they started, we wouldn't. Some of the people in the school, they wanted to run it like a regular school. I told them, we can't run it like that. I said, I want to run a school that I would have been happy in as a kid. So when somebody messed up, I'd take them and drive them around and go get ice cream and stuff. Well, that's when I was a kid. That's what I would want. Instead of going sitting in the principal's office, so they took me off the principal. They say, anyway. And they wanted to do all kind of stuff because they wanted to run it like their school. Our children are nice and clean cut. One of the little brothers had a little butter knife in his pack. He'd get on the thing, riding with all them Negroes. He just had a little knife, and they wanted to suspend him. I said, you can't suspend him. It's just a little butter knife. You see them Negroes on the thing he riding with? And the Muslim kids are clean cut and, got all their books. What the heck? So, again, and if somebody couldn't pay it, well, we just pay it ourselves. Okay, you got to imagine the blessings from that. the blessings that to educate somebody, to be involved in it, and geographical, having where we live close together. So we bought that place, and the place down there. And we bought the big lot across the street. And we bought all of that stuff by 2003 or 4. This was 94. So by 2004, we had everything that we have here. Of course, after that, boss man comes in and try to slow things down. But now to have a program with a critical issues list and to work toward the betterment of humanity, you have to realize Masjid al-Islam, in the early 2000s, we had 10 masajid around the country full of people, and everything just rolling along. We haven't increased here since 2004, 3 or 4. You know, we haven't increased it, but we know where we're going. You got to remember, this was 93 and 94. This, what we did here, is where we wound up from there within less than 10 years. In less than 10 years, we had did everything you see around here, right? It's been 16 years since we made visible progress. If you looked at Masjid al-Islam, it was the most important masjid in this region. From demonstrations, right? We managed demonstrations. We managed all the security at all the places. I always think of that one of those big marches, demonstrations we had downtown. It was 500,000 people there. And everybody used to complain, Imam Musa, those guys are using us, Answer, Marty Bray and all that. I said, don't worry about it. So they got all that time to speak. They don't let you speak no time. And I told the brothers this. I say, you see us all here in black? Everybody else see us too, right? What they see, unity, discipline, organization. I said, when people leave, they're not going to remember what them guys said. I said, when I get up and talk, they're going to remember that. So we had maybe 5 minutes. We got up there and we told the people, it's 500,000 people. We said, do y'all want me to teach you a slogan that if you hear that slogan, or if people around the world, 1.5 billion people will love you? They said, yes. So I said, okay, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do takbir. I'm going to say Allahu Akbar 3 times. And after I takbir, each time I want y'all to say Allahu Akbar. Do you know them white folks down there takbir better than the Muslims? Didn't they? I said takbir. They said Allahu Akbar. I said takbir. They said Allahu Akbar. And the 3rd time, the same thing. And then Rush Limbaugh said that Imam Massa was teaching our people, white folk, slogans that they say when they blow up planes. I said, this man is crazy. Yeah, Allahu Akbar. I'm just trying to tell you. So all the things that we planned for back then, we technically exceeded all of those things, you know. And the living close together, the property, that means that the property we acquired, remember, we had to own that property. And in the beginning, well, technically, it was mainly like Brother Tufayl. Brother Tufayl was doing the place right there. He remodeled the whole place, and then he said, $500 rent is not enough, so I'm gonna pay you $1,000. I said, there's no argument. So, but in those days, that's what everybody that was in the community was working toward, putting in the community instead of taking out. You see what I mean? So when you got a group of people all putting in, hey man, everything just grows and develops. And that's those things that we was talking about in this, we exceeded all of those things. We exceeded all of those things. In our sisterhood class, brotherhood classes, you have to remember that in our classes, it was really Islamic movement or Islamic studies, because we had a reading list and we studied a whole series of books and literatures. Everybody that was active here became learned. Like Brother Tufayl told me, he said he would go out sometime and he had to talk to some of those guys at these Islamic places. He said, I don't give them credit for nothing. None of them, what he was saying was, none of these guys are superior in Islamic knowledge or anywhere than we are. And he used to say that all the time. Yeah, because sometimes for certain reasons. So there's no waste in nature. Absolutely no waste in nature. Now I'm going to come to something that we can settle in on. It's called conflict resolution and negotiated settlement. Who will that be with? Well, years ago we went down and we talked to the FBI. And they didn't like to talk because I was telling them that one thing or another. And one of the guys walked out when he asked, he said, so if there was something going on, you wouldn't tell us? Excuse the language. I said, hell no, I wouldn't tell you. I said, y'all worse than whoever that would be. I said, I wouldn't tell you nothing. I said, I would stop. If I saw somebody trying to do something, burn a church or do this, I said, I would stop it myself. But I wouldn't tell you. I would not tell you because you're worse than them. Talking about the FBI, which they are. I said, you worse than they are. So one of them got up and walked out, Because here's the reason he walked out. He thought I was going down there to secretly become a snitch. Because all the pressure that they would put, they was thinking nobody's ever handled it like that. So actually I was using the conflict resolution to become an FBI. They're used to that. They're used to that. I was telling the guy, I said, yeah, when I was in the gangster world, I wanted to be like Al Capone. He said, well, you would have been a federal informer. I said, no, the Hollywood Al Capone, not the real one. Not the real one, died of syphilis in the penitentiary. No, I don't want to. I want to be the one y'all showed me on TV, Big Al. So the first project for the Brother Tufayl Strategic Command Center, and remember, that's in operation now. That's what we're doing now. The buildings, we get them together, that's fine. But the first project is dedicated to him. So what are we going to do? Outline a presentation. The code name is America the Good. That we're going to present all the legal work that you see, what they've done over the last years. We're going to say to them, we want you, FBI, to follow all of this up, run it through your court system, give us our $100 million, and then just leave us alone. Just stay out of our business. Because, see, it's going to take at least $100 million to do the things that we want to do. Now, you would think this group, $100 million for niggas, that's a lot of money. What are they going to do with all of that? They going to go crazy? They're going to do this? No. We have been doing this for 40 years. If you knew the amount of money and time they spent on us, you would be shocked. They done already spent way over $100 million on us. So here's the agreement. You take care of all of this, and when you take care of it, you know, you just say, well, we've did a little research and we found that the Bank of America and at the Oakland Police, and us too a little bit. You gotta, they don't want to put themselves in there, but they have to be semi-real about what they've been doing. The COINTEL program, basically. When we say we have to teach the people why they're happy, they don't know that the Black Lives Matter and don't shoot and all of that, that those people are mostly their people. When our masajid in California and other places, boss man can start to open up a building right next door and fill it up with people in 20 minutes. Boss man can. Okay, we don't want to be bothered with all the stuff we talk about. We want to do it. We don't want to be bothered with him coming around like, well, we don't trust what you're doing, and you're up to something. I told boss man when I was the FBI last time, I said, yeah, well, here's what we want to do. I said, we want to change the place across the street. We want to turn it into, transitional housing for people when they get out of prison. You want to do that? You want to do that? I said, yeah. But you can, and then he stopped himself. But you would have some authority over those people, and you could get them to do. I said, man, y'all is crazy. That's when this idea about Mushrif, Sarafa came up. Way back then, that you are wasting all your people and you're wasting all your talent, man. You got all these problems and you're wasting now. What does the election and all that stuff have to do with it? Of course they lied. It's like the Quran said they lied. But there's an ayat in Quran, and we kind of stick to, go thou to Pharaoh, for he had indeed transgressed all bounds. He had become tagut. It used the word taga. And say to him, wouldest thou that thou should be purified from sin? And that I guide thee to thy Lord, so thou shouldest fear him. Then did Moses show him outside. So Moses, there's another ayat I've been looking for it. It said, go to Pharaoh and say nice words to him. Does anybody remember that? Perchance he may listen. If anybody can remember where to find that, I've been looking all day and I can find everything but that one. So, but it tells Musa alayhi salam, go to Pharaoh, say nice words to him. Perchance he might reflect, or he might now affect one of the Negro imams up in Brooklyn. Of course, I've been on the ayat, but he said, see, when I think about this society, I think about that. In other words, talk nice to the system. We had talked nice to the system 50 times already. This is the 300th time. You know what I mean? But it's saying, go thou to Pharaoh, for he has indeed transgressed all bounds. He has become taguth. He has overflowed its bounds. And so the vocabulary stresses he's overflowed, he's crossed all of legal bounds, and then so that you may be purified. Tazakka, he purified himself. Get purified. Zakah, like zakah, we give zakat, it means to increase, to grow, right? And it means purification. You give somebody the money that you've earned away, so it purifies the rest of it. It cleanses it up. That's technically what it means. So, go to Pharaoh. So, when we do what we're doing, we're following the Quranic prescription. What we're doing right now, well, we're going to Pharaoh's assistant, we're going to the system, to the FBI, the most well-known agencies, right, of the system, and we're putting forth this proposal. They take it, they don't, it don't make no difference. Of course, we know that usually they don't, but it's our job to go and put the proposal before them. Just in case they might have listened to what we told them years ago, or just in case they might feel like paying attention, or just in case a few percentage of the FBI agents may finally understand that they don't control their own government. What was that? What ayat was it? Okay, would you read it? Right. That's it. That's the one. That's the one. Just imagine. That's what we're doing. Now, people might say, man, you going to the FBI. They the ones that instituted the COINTEL program. They done did this and they done did that. Well, some of them realize that they don't control their own environment. Don't you know some of them FBI agents, they know Flight 800. They know a missile went out there. They know that there ain't no Muslims blew up all. They know, some of them know it, right? They know it. So, and they know that they stole this land from Indians, enslaved all of us and worked us to death, and we ain't got nothing, and they know that. You see what I mean? And some of those Europeans do not like being controlled by Zionists. You got to look at it now. The newspapers, Zionists. Everything, what is it? They present a picture of reality, and everybody act according to that picture, not the reality, right? They act according to the picture they have presented. We have to prevent that boss man, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. At this time, the biggest enemy of the world is a Zionist, right? We have to tell them, we already know. I'm not going to tell them, look, we already know. I don't care whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, but we're going to try to speak words of kindness. And every time I talk with the FBI, I try to control myself, but right in the conversation, hey man, let me tell you something, da-da-da-da-da, then you have to take it easy. So this time, conflict resolution, our goal is to convince them. You're being controlled by Zion. Your children are going to war for the Zionists. And you can lay out which war. 2000, Iraq war, both times, all of those, all the fighting that's going on in the world, right, is because of him. He the one killed 3,000 of your citizens. And they get a taste that it's halfway true. They're FBI agents, so they know some of it is true. The idea is to lay it out for them. Okay, y'all take care of this, then you run it through your court, and you make us a light hero, and then put a little heroics in there for yourself, that you followed this up, and it was hard. We have to search ourselves, and we had to overcome our own part that we played in this process. Just fix it up, right? Okay, now you have to analyze all the stuff we talk about. If we want to rent a military base for $1, the government is going to have to prove that. We don't want them to help us, but we want it for a homeless thing, right? Why? Because homelessness is bigger. The things are so big that we want to be left alone to do good, right? We have always said this, we want America to be America the good, not America the great. It ain't never been great, but America the good. Can you imagine America the good? All right? So, it don't add up that they wouldn't have, there's still a reality, right? This is a new time. They're pretending that we want to make things right, right? Of course they don't, but that's okay. We have to do, or we should do our part in this process, right? So we're following the Quran. What it tell us to do, that's what we're following. And we're going to the proper authorities because we believe. Our analysis show that whatever we do, if they want to block it, they can almost make trouble. They let you build some this, that, or the other, then they come down and tear it apart, right? That's normal. Or anybody that's in there, they're going to have half their people in there. A minimum of half is going to be their people. That's the way it goes. It's been like that. When we started this stuff, this 94 was the second or third stage. We'd already did Oakland, and we was in the process of the next year we started As-Sabiqun. But this program that we're talking about now, we have been through a lot of this before. So the first part is easy. If we did this from 94 to 2004, you could imagine that we're talking about big time stuff. We're not talking about little teenage. That's important. Anything that you do of good is important. But we have acquired such a state of knowledge and information and understanding that we should want to share that with the system. Because they haven't, the Central Intelligence Agency is a Central Ignorance Agency, right? It's ignorance. They don't do nothing intelligent. It's not, they get information, but they don't use it intelligently. It's not the Central Intelligence Agency. It's the Central Ignorance Agency. Same thing, CIA, Central Ignorance Agency, right? They wallow in ignorance. Okay, now, back to niyyah, back to intention. They say the road to hell is paved with good intention. We don't believe that. We believe that's the shaitan made that up and fed it to the people, and they use it right now. You ask anybody what about intention, they say the road to hell is paved with good. So don't have no good. How are you going to do good if you don't have no good intention? That means if you do good, it's accidentally, right? You accidentally did some good. But you didn't plan it, think like we got planned. The plan is to do good. That's why for our first project, that's why we're dedicating it to Brother Tufayl. Because from those times up to now, there's only a couple people that's been here consistently all of that time. And that know all of this stuff. And that have been involved in it. See, if you look at Brother Tufayl's library, it was Hadith, Tafsir of Quran, because we used to trade and go find Tafsir. See, all other people, he had a wife, that girl could recite Quran. I mean, I'm telling you, I think she charged money to teach people how to, but she didn't know what she was saying. She just like people Hafiz of Quran, but they don't know what it means. And we never did that here. We said, that's why we concentrated on tafsir of Quran, not recital. You never came to no class where we sitting up there, it's gum, it's cab, all those rules of recitation. We just didn't do that. I mean, I have a year of Arabic and another review. Tafsir of Quran. No, tafsir of Quran. You go to Brother Tufayl's house, every tafsir, it's at least 5 or 6 tafsir in the house, minimum. And they all good. I mean, because we would discuss, oh, that one ain't no good. But it's helpful, so we keep that. Yeah. This is dynamite. So the dynamite tafsir, we used to discuss it all the time. That's why the stuff we say, it sounds like, why would you go to the FBI? Why would you talk to them about the stuff project you're getting ready to do? Well, that's what the Quran say do, right? And they'll argue with you. They say, ain't no Quran told you to go to the non-believers and go to, it didn't say the non-believers, it said go to the biggest one in the town. Go to Pharaoh, right? Go to him. Speak nice words to him. Perchance he may, Allah know what Pharaoh's gonna do. He know everything, right? But Allah said that that's the sunnah of Moses. So technically it's the sunnah of the prophets. Just like before you would attack a town, the Muslims would wait at night. You know what they was waiting for? To see if they call the adhan. If they call the adhan, they're going about their business because there's Muslims there. Well, there's enough Muslims there, right? Or before you declare war and offer people a proposal. You know, all that stuff is the sunnah. The people, I'm not going to talk about them, but they don't have a deep understanding of the functional. See, tafsir give you a functional idea about the Quran. So, from our current programs in the past, we had things like Department of Strategic and Islamic Studies, College of Islamic Movement Studies, Strategic Management under Conditions of Oppression. Those have to be upgraded. Why? Because these are years old. They own the money. The de-Negroization process, all that. A lot of y'all don't remember that stuff, but battle space awareness. Muslim cultural development replacement. What is cultural development replacement? Who do everybody listen to in America, in the world, for music and everything else? They listen to African Americans mostly, right? And now Latinos. The people who are oppressed in a society, or the low class, always, only 2 or 3% of the people listen to classical, what you call high class music. The ones that control the minds of the people are the lower classes. I don't care whether it's Dixieland back in the 20s, jazz, minstrel shows, remember blackface? The white folks was putting on blackface back then, everywhere, because there's something about how the British hate the Irish, but they like Irish music. And bagpipes, you see, wherever they go, they got the bagpipes playing, because the Scots and they were oppressed by the British. Well, why they got the bagpipes blowing? Because you listen to them bagpipes, they got that whine and that sound of sincerity, right, and caring. Yeah, they do. You can just hear it. You don't have to know what's going on, but you can hear it. Cultural replacement means that the Muslims should start making halal music, halal plays, halal everything, halal, halal, halal. Why? Then the Americans will start listening to it. Why? Because they'll be putting their heart in it. They'll be putting their heart in it, and it's developed. All in 10 years, you can have everybody listening to Muslims. You can't say it can't happen. The beetle invasion, all the monkeys and all of them people, what was they singing? Blues. And they wasn't singing it, they wasn't doing a good job either. Right? But it was sincerity. It was what they call authenticity. And Europeans have been doing that. That was a movie. I don't know if y'all ever saw it. It's an old movie. Blues in the Night. Blues in the Night, and they in jail, these young white boys in a band, they done got it. And they hearing this old Negro sing, "My mama done told me when I was in knee pants," you know, and they said, that's authentic. It was made in the 40s. Jack Carlson, whatever their name was, something like that. Muslims should make authentic, all they got to do is do it. If they do it, it's going to be authentic. So all the wars, the oppression, everything that's happening to them, from Bosnia to Boko Haram, right, to being run over to this country and that country, immigration into Europe, all of that will be a part of the music, right? And pretty soon, the Americans will be listening to it. Why? They don't have anything of their own. They're going to copy somebody else. There's a little bit of hillbilly music that's not that bad. I mean, it's authentic, you know. Okay. Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. I'm going to begin to wrap this up because we've done all of this stuff. Talks about during this period. Together we want to develop a plan of action and work with missionary zeal to bring about and play a role in the Earth Liberation Movement, which aims to free the Earth from the parasitical behavior of man, establish a non-predatory system of interconnected global harmony, nurture and further a culture of Earth-first custodianship, understand and respect the rights of the earth, which should be treated as a living organism, which it is, and envision and actualize a global redesign for the 21st century. This is an old flyer, it's 2011, but they don't even think Negroes talk like this. develop to free the earth of the parasitical behavior of man, establish a non-predatory system of interconnected global harmony. That don't even sound African American, right? Well, it does, but they don't have people believing it. That's what it sounds like, right? We're supposed to death to the white man. We wanted the Black Lives Matter, right? That's what they tell you. They don't want you to have no sense. And they don't present you as having no sense. Okay. That's their problem. We want to present a good alternative. Victory of Islam over the Shah and victory of Masjid al-Islam over the combined forces of Zionism. The people yesterday was out running around. You would think they got rid of a dictator, right? Yeah, this is a revolution. To them, hey man, I mean, they was partying. When I went to bed, they wouldn't go to bed. They wouldn't, hey man, they was just partying and dancing all over America. And I could imagine Don's people was burning up. You know, Don's people was burning up. Now, you got to remember, this is a big education. Because remember, that's over 70 million people who are basically dummies. They dummies. They believe, I mean, of course, we don't want them to watch this and say we call them dummies. But they got, hey man, those people believe the Don was real. They could take wood nickels. You take, hey, this is a wood nickel. Yeah, man, I want more. You got any more of them? It's a wood nickel. That's what they look. You know, I know, the world know. Do you know how many people around the world call old Biden, whatever his name was, man, Happy Days is here again. I mean, Don did a good job. He did the job that he was hired to do by the Zionists. Divide America, mess up things as much as they could, and then he'd spend the 4 years here, and then he'd have to go. And when the big white folks double cross you, he like Hillary Clinton, you know, she was supposed to win the election, and then the FBI brought out something a week before the election. Remember that? And then she didn't win. Now, to her, he didn't have to do that. But that was the plan all the time, because they didn't want her to win, because they didn't want her to be in there. Right? They just didn't. But they know how to manipulate their own system. It's their system. Their system, and they can put anybody in there they want to. And if they don't want them in there, they're not going to get in there. I don't care what the people think. And they're going to teach them how to think, and they're going to tell them what to think, right? Okay, all of those things we have to deal with. So we need allies. So we have to educate the system on who their real enemy is. It ain't us. And you don't have to be nervous that if we gain power. Does anybody know what happened in Kenya with Jomo Kenyatta, burning spear, when they took power in 1961, 62? Nothing. Does anybody know what happened? Everybody would know. What happened in South Africa when Nelson Mandela came to power? They had truth and reconciliation. Negroes don't do, white folks think we gonna do them the way they did us. They're just sure of that. But it never happens. You don't find in history, you do not find when you look around the world, when black people, a little bit in Mozambique, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't nothing like that they've been doing us, right? That's the same thing you're hearing right now. We have to calm these people down. Look, we are not you. We are not going to do you like you did us. We almost got to convince them. After all these lectures on peace and love and all that, they still don't believe it. But we ain't going to stop. We're going to tell them one more time. But we have to do what we're going to do anyway. See, in other words, if they don't accept the proposal, if they don't act on the proposal, we'll have it better organized when we present it to them. And that's what we're going to present to them. Why? Because we would like to collaborate with the 5 or 10 or 15% of the people inside of the system and keep the system out of our way, because the dumb system thinks we're the problem. And 70% of the people is so slow, you got to imagine how slow they are. They have a rally, a demonstration, and Antifa, whoever they call them, come up and burn up something. They ain't got enough sense to know that those people are the FBI. They don't know that. They think they're Antifa, anti-fascist. So they pro-fascist. They put there to do that. We know that because we're active. We know that because we're active. They're not active on a level, and they're not going to treat them that way so they'll ever find out, hardly. We know that because we're right here in the Southeast. We're Muslims, and they talk about oppression. They're doing this because we're black. I said, boy, look here. If you was black and Muslim, then you know a few things. And not only black and Muslim, but an active counter-Zionist, anti-Zionist Muslim. Now you're talking. You're going to learn what the system is. If you're not, we got people, black people that vote, Muslims that vote, all of that. Why? Because they don't know the system. Why? Because they're not active. They're not active. I mean, really active. I mean, anti-Zionist, counter-Zionist active. The ones that tell the Americans what to do. What we want to tell the Americans is, me and you, boss man, we want to help you get back in charge of yourself, of your own country. Then we'll get the boss man after we get rid of the Zionists, one at a time. One at a time. You can't get rid of everybody at once. And after you cooperate for a while, boss man might want to have a negotiated settlement. Oh, y'all was good niggas. I be doggone, you fooled me. I thought all niggas did. That's what they think. Anyway, they do. What do you think? They call us African Americans and all of that in their personal conversation? Why, I saw some nice African Americans, some African American art, and it was wonderful. And African Americans did it. No, the niggas did it. That's where they talk. So anyway, no, that's what? I want to close with man's purpose is Khalifa, to reestablish. Caliphate, the purpose of man is to praise God and serve humanity. If you look at all the religion, that's what it points to, right? Praise to Allah and serving humanity. Well, we call it serving the creation because it's not only other human beings now. It's animal life, fish life. And there's a hadith that say the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea would be praising a knowledgeable man. That means the birds that fly in there, man, it's cloudy up here. The fish is, oh man, all this plastic, they don't know what it is, but they know they eat it, fill up their stomach, and they're still hungry. So they know, even the fish knows something is wrong. In the oceans is poison. The Khalifa, Khalifa for us is custodianship. Custodianship, that's caliphate. You notice there's a little difference in the language on this go-round than in the first go-round or the second go-round. Because it's not only to solve the race problem or the Islamic problem, it's now to solve the whole human problem. Right? We got, suppose you solve the black problem. The oceans still stink and everything else is still messed up. Suppose you solve the Muslim problem. Well, the oceans still stink and everything's still messed up, right? So we have to go after the whole thing. But we've been thinking about this. That's why we called it Earth Firstism. The stuff we did in the last periods, says Imam Musa will inshallah share case study after case study on how to practice psychological guerrilla warfare. The college, that's number one. 2, College of Strategic and Islamic Studies will give you hands-on experience on how to make agents and collaborators expose themselves. Learn how Masjid al-Islam has exposed the whole Zionist American network in the public sphere. Never has so few done so much for so many without visible support. Okay, this is contemporary, but we have to come in on a level that incorporates some of this and we keep moving right on. In other words, it's a society involved, what we're working toward evolves too. Yeah, so we want to do all of this, just like we did all of that. We did all that over and over again, right? Way more than what we were shooting for. Well, we got to do the same thing, but we make dua to Allah to help us make an impact. And why do we want to make an impact on the world? Because these crazy people will ruin the whole thing. And in 15 years, you won't be able to breathe. And your children won't have nowhere to go because it'll be too much smoke, right? It'll be too much disease, and everything will be boiling over. You know, if we leave these people running stuff, in 5 or 10 years, it ain't gonna be no more ice caps up in wherever they are up there in the Arctic. Won't be none. That's already, all of that stuff is happening, and you know where things increase, the momentum keeps going and going, and it picks up, and we call it if we keep going, we'll eventually get to the point of no return. Point of no return is if you're going to Europe, and that's 3,000 miles away across the Atlantic. If you go out 1,000 miles, you can turn around and come back, right? But if you go out 1,600 miles, that's 100 miles past the middle point, past the point of no return. Whatever you come up, you might as well keep on going that way. So pretty soon we'll be past the point of no return. And I'll close with this. The earth is a living organism, if y'all was listening. And the earth has been here 4.5 billion years. And they say it's got another 4.5. If that's true, the earth is not going to allow us to ruin it. The earth is a living organism. And it's already defending itself. Fires in one area, floods in another, and these people are too stupid to see it. They're too, and what does the Quran talk about all the time? Sign after sign after sign, and they ain't seeing nothing. Tornadoes within fires. Tornadoes within fires. That means, you know, the air. That's why you look in California and Redding, the car fire. You look out there in Santa Rosa, those houses look like Berlin after the war. Those fires never used to work like that. Now they're burning down everything. and they have fires with the inside of a fire is a tornado. Good God Almighty. Hey, there ain't no climate change. There ain't no climate change. Well, any of y'all got any age on you? Is the climate different than it used to be? Well, it's up in November and it's 70, outside it's 75 degrees. It's actually warm outside. It'll get warm in here, right? So, what did you used to have in November? I remember they wanted me to come to D.C. From California once in November. They called out at the IAC back in the 80s. They said, don't come. That was around in November. There's a snowstorm here. It's packed with snow. Do y'all remember right here in D.C., we used to have big packs of snow sometime? Kids sliding off the hills. Did you have any last year? About a sprinkle of snow. Right? Sprinkle of snow. Yeah, I'm telling you, hey, that used to be every year. You could tell each year period had its own time. When I got here 30 years ago, on January the 1st, December, late December, because we go to those programs, sell books and all that. And I was staying on 16th Street. We was using the Muslim house. And I hit the coffee, and it hit the window, and the coffee in a hot cup froze before it hit the bottom of the window. That's how cold it was. It was, and when I got out in the woods going to Chicago, it was 18 below zero out there. 18 below. They don't even have stuff like that now. They don't even believe. They say this man sitting here lying. I'm just telling you that it was cold. You can believe it or not. I'm telling you, right there in the Northwest, I knocked over a hot cup of coffee, and it hit the window, and it didn't hit the bottom of the window. It froze, F-R-O-Z-E, before it hit the bottom of the window. Now, I saw that myself. I said, boy, look at him, boy. It's cold over here in D.C. I was in California. Now, that ain't going to happen. The earth is a living organism. We want to help the earth get back to where it cleanses itself, it purifies itself, right? We want to help the earth become healthy so everything on the earth and in the earth will become healthy too. That's all we want to do. If they don't like it, that's their business. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments about anything that we said? I was moving a little fast. And as we said, the Brother Tufayl Strategic Command Center is already in operation. This is the first project. He'd be proud of it. Yeah, this first project, we're going to go to FBI and tell them you boys been bad, but we're going, and now you want to do good. Of course, it don't sound like, it sounds like Moses going to Pharaoh, right? Hey, you can assume that Pharaoh then and Pharaoh now, but we don't know that. So we're going to give it a try. Are there any questions about anything so far? Okay, no questions and no comments. Yeah. Well, the election. There's a short story, there's a long story. The medium story is this. Donald Trump was hired by Mossad, the Zionists. They needed a guy that was arrogant, that was hateful, that could act a little, And they studied him just like they study all the police that they have killed one of us. In recent, they studied him. So they studied and said, Don, I see you had a program and everybody was fired. And so Don can act a little, just like Ronald Reagan. He wasn't no good president, but he could act like a good president because he was a B actor. They just give him the script and he just acted. So Don had to do something. His script read like this: you have to divide and destroy America. First, destroy the Republican Party. And if you can take the Democrats down with you, go ahead. Why was that? Or how was that? If he was supposed to be rich, why would he do that? He would do that because he's dumb enough not to care about anybody but himself. And of course his family. But Mossad, Kushner, a Zionist, married the younger Ivanka, what's her name? Not the Trump lady, right? Why is a guy 30-something years old going all over the world doing the biggest things in politics and diplomacy, and he can't tie a shoe? Because the Zionists control him. And the Zionists wanted to make sure that Don is under control. Number one, they had to get somebody that was broke. And everybody thought Don had money, but well, who he owed that $300, $400 million to? So Don, we've known it, he's always been broke. Don he's not a good businessman. The Trump Towers, them big casinos, they have rats running all around it, you know, where mildew and all of that. That's the way they are. His big building projects, he always burned everybody. When he became president, he had 51 cases in court. So you done did $50 million worth of work for him, and he keeps you in court so long, and you're a kind of a millionaire-ish construction man type, and he owes you $50 million, and he'll keep you tied up. He said, I'll pay you $5. And you say, I'll take it. It's just too much trouble. 51 cases in court when he became, so he was automatically a perfect kind of person. One, he's arrogant. Two, he needs money and he's a bad money manager, right? Three, he doesn't care about anybody but himself and his little family. He's a perfect setup for Mossad. See, Mossad studies people all over the world, and they know the bad habits of all the people. That's what Mossad. So Mossad hired Donald Trump to do what he did. We didn't say this last week. Tell the truth, we've been saying this from day one. First, we had to figure out who hired him, and then they looked at, we said, well, Don, the Palestinians, Don did this, Don moved the embassy. And Don, the Israelis hate that Iranian deal, right? And that's the first thing Don did, tore it up, right? Because who does the Israelis hate in that area more than anybody? More than all the Arabs that hate Iran, right? It hates Iran. Okay, so what do we think about the election? The first election, the white woman would have won hands down, but the FBI came in the last 2 weeks, said we charge you with such, then they took the charge off. So Miss Hillary lost. Okay, Don won. That's the way it was set up. She realizes that's the way it went, but she didn't know it then. Don won, and Don did his job. Don went against all the Republicans. McCain, he went against the Bush crew. The Bush crew was a bad crew. One was a governor, or both of them was governors, and one was president, the daddy was the president. That was a bad crew. And he just walked right through them. told them, y'all ain't nothing. Why? Because he said I could shoot somebody downtown and Fifth Avenue and won't nothing happen. Who could guarantee that except the Zionists? They control the media, they control police, they control everything. Nobody, no police department could guarantee you that. Even the United States Senate, nobody could guarantee you that. But the Zionists could. And he said it, and everybody heard him, right? So this election was because they had, an expiration date. 4 years, you get your time to do what you're going to do and see if it works. And if you stay longer, it would expose them. So this election was framed so everybody in America would participate. Do y'all remember seeing movies, Vote, Vote, Vote? Do you remember they had a Hollywood special on West Wing with all them old people coming back, vote, vote, vote? They did one movie recently, just a movie about denying black people the right to vote. And you got to vote, 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 vote. Why you want everybody to vote? If they vote, they feel like they had something to do. They participated in it. They wanted them to vote, vote, vote. Because if you vote in the system, you've participated. You tell your grandchildren, I was a part of that celebration when we got rid of the dictator Don, and I voted, right? Don't everybody vote, 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 vote? Why vote this time? Because this time was the key to getting rid of Don. The white folks didn't want him no more. That's what he's sad about. He's realizing that the Zionists double-crossed him. You ought to see. Have y'all ever heard the primal scream? What's the governor up there that made that primal scream on TV? He became head of the Democratic, who? Dean. Do y'all remember Howard Dean? This has been a long time. He was talking and he just hollered on this. He realized that this is a big setup, that, good governor and all of that. But he realized it in front of the camera and he just hollered, God. Y'all remember that? He hollered. Okay. So this election was the biggest sham that y'all have witnessed. But it was set up like that. And it's set up for black people to feel happy and for the other team to feel bad. When they want to destroy a country, the British, how did they rule? Divide, conquer, and rule. Keep America big, but divided and weak, so only Israel can use America. America won't have the power to do for itself, but it can be manipulated. They got big military, they got all that. We can use America. In order to do that, we have to make them weak and divided. That's the way you rule people. Divide them, conquer, and rule them. So about this election, that's what the election was. No matter what you think, Joe was going to win from Jump Street. And if you think Kamala or something, if you want a dictator, that girl from California, when she was the state's attorney, the attorney, she would put, if your kids didn't go to school, she'd put you in jail. Go study. She's a nice lady, but she's a dictator. She's one of them. Now the plan is like this. Joe will go along for a year or two, maybe retire, say I'm old. Maybe he might make it to the end, but they got her set up to be the next president. She'll run and they'll have a nice mixture of Negro, Indian, everything. Back to Obama. America gives those people an opportunity. It can't be that bad if they can run and become president. Right? It's a big show. The whole thing you got going on here is a theater. It's theatrics. It ain't real. Ain't none of it real. That's what we want to do. We want to make this stuff real. Any other questions? Okay, we thank y'all very much. We're going to have a little din-din. We can serve the food. Y'all can come back up here and eat. We can put out the cloth so you can take it home, however you want to do. But inshallah, we can kick that off now. Thank y'all very much. Assalamu alaikum. Is it?